So welcome to Connect, everyone. We've got a great session for you today. My name is Brendan Sitt, and I'm the APAC Technical Evangelist and Channel Architect here at Qumulo. I'll be your host for today's historic event. That's right, our first in the Asia Pacific region. Now, just a quick run through of what we have planned for you. So firstly, we're going to have a quick intro to Qumulo and HPE from our CEO, Bill Richter, and HPE's GM of Storage in APAC, Joseph Yang. Then who better to take us through a technology deep dive than our VP of Product, Ben Gittenstein. Followed by Ben will be Mike Kirkpatrick, who's our Director of Systems Engineering, and Mike will be taking us through a very slick live demo of Qumulo. Next, we have my dear friend Jay Park, who is the Category Manager in South Korea for software-defined storage at HPE. And he will share a few customer use cases that he was involved in there. And finally, all good things must come to an end, and we'll finish with details on how you can win some fantastic prizes and some time for Q&A as well. Now, before we get started, we just have a few important things to note. Firstly, we value transparency around here. So I'm letting you all know that we will be recording this session, but you probably noticed that little that red light in the corner of your Zoom session anyway. Next, just a quick reminder though, to please use Zoom's Q&A feature to ask any questions that you have along the way. And we've got a team ready to answer live at the end of the presentations as well. Lastly, and most importantly, don't act like a grumquat, Qumulo's moody little mascot. Instead, enjoy yourself and have fun today. We're all here to learn, and thank you again for attending. So let's get things kicked off right now and get started. I'd like to welcome Bill Richter, Qumulo's President and CEO, to the stage to give all of us a unique overview of Qumulo from his perspective. After this, Bill will also be joined by Joseph Yang, HPE's General Manager of Storage in APAC, as the two dive deeper into Qumulo and HPE partnership. Bill, I'll pass it over to you to begin.
Awesome. Thank you, Brendan, and good morning to everybody across the region. Brendan said it right. It's a historic day for us. Though we've been working across the Asia Pacific region for almost 2 or 3 years, and that was mostly driven by customer demand. People saw the product and asked to buy it. Today is the day that we really announced our presence in the region, and who better to do that with than our great partner, HPE. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about what Qumulo does, what we stand for, and how we help customers. As Brendan said, we'll be very transparent and talk a lot of the details of the business. And then we're going to dive deep. There's nothing better than a real live demo and customer use cases to bring it all home. Everything that we do here at Qumulo centers on data, and we really focus on unstructured data, and that's a passion of ours. Unstructured data or file-based data is at the center of the human existence, of everything from research for the next generation of drug discovery, to manufacturing, to education, to physical security, all produces enormous amounts of file data. As a company, we observed that the market lacked innovation to really bring customers into the future, and that is what Qumulo is all about. I mentioned research as a primary use case for us. And this has become very important just over the last 1.5 years. In fact, we have multiple customers that are on the forefront of COVID-19 research, both for diagnostics and drug discovery, but also for gathering all that data and making it extensible to policymakers so that we can make good choices. That has become a very important and special mission for us. But unfortunately, the world has a lot of needs around research. And the National Institute of Cancer Research is one of our great customers in the region, and we'll end up talking more about that today. In a completely different market is the advent of heavy manufacturing and in the automotive industry. Our customers in this space use Qumulo all across the development of the next generation of vehicles. That's things like vehicle design and CAD CAM, to crash test to make sure that all of our passengers drive safely, but also on the production line for quality control. As parts are developed, they use Qumulo to image those parts and record them and keep them so that they can always improve their design. Maybe most exciting in the world of automotive is the advent of automated driving. And this vehicle in front of you is known for driving itself. All of the car manufacturers are working on automated driving. That use case generates an enormous amount of unstructured data. It would not be possible if not for the innovation that we've brought to this market. Maybe a more fun market is media and entertainment. In fact, in many ways, this is where Qumulo started. As we've all been stuck at home over the last year, boy, oh boy, have we watched a lot of television, and organizations like Netflix and all of the major studios use Qumulo to develop content, to create it, to edit it, to distribute it. And we've got 10 out of 10 of the top Hollywood studios all using Qumulo, and multiple customers in the Asia Pacific region also on Qumulo. There's some really unbelievable facts about the fleet of customers that we have, and it's important to remember that as part of Qumulo, all customer environments are managed through the cloud. And that ensures that we can detect any issues before they turn into problems for customers, but we're also able to gather some fun information about what the fleet of our customers are doing. And this statistic, I think, is a lot of fun. Every single day, our customers produce 1 billion files, and that's per day. And this is very active data. There's over 200 billion operations against that data. So this isn't just cold data, it's very active data. And of course, performance matters. 90% of those operations occur in less than a millisecond. In order to get a sense of just how large that we've grown as a company, I'll share this fact with you. We have over an exabyte of data, that's 1,000 petabytes of data out there being actively produced and reasoned over by customers. And if you multiply that out by the way the subscription model works, that's over 4 exabyte years of data under management. Now, it's no good just selling a lot of product to customers. The thing that really matters is whether those customers are happy, satisfied, and delighted. We maniacally measure our customer satisfaction every single quarter, and we use a process that's pretty common in the industry called NPS. That's the Net Promoter Score. And this research that we do with customers boils down to a very simple question. Would you recommend this product to somebody else that you know and trust in the industry? Would you put your reputation on the line? Our scores are off the charts. We are above 90 on NPS. We blow out any of the competition in the industry there. And that's because we've done some very important things from day one at Qumulo to ensure not just the quality of the product is high, but the responsiveness of our teams to your questions, the ability to get access to an engineer that really understands whatever issue you might be facing, and then most importantly, through our cloud monitoring to detect any issues before they become problems for you. Qumulo is deployed all around the world. Every one of these little poker chips represents a Qumulo deployment. And you'll note, even though we're announcing our presence in the Asia Pacific region today, Qumulo customers have already sprouted up all over the place. If you boil down what Qumulo really focuses on, it's these 3 things. It's environments where there's an exponential growth in unstructured data. We focus on environments that are active, where customers are producing that data and consuming it. And we think a lot about the choice, freedom, and flexibility that public clouds have to offer. The Qumulo software runs in your private data centers or your private clouds, but it runs equally well directly on public clouds. Digging in a little bit deeper, this is really how we think about the world. We think of data as being a life cycle. There's always an ingestation moment or a creation moment of data. Customers then look to transform that data and reason over it. Once that data has been created and transformed, it's no good unless you make it accessible and extensible and publish it to business users so that they can get value out of it. And then of course, as time passes, that data cools down and you need ways of being able to archive that data in economical ways. This slide is really represented as a line, but in fact, it could also be shown as a circle. We see many customers go through this process, and then even when the data sits in archive, something happens in the world and they want to be able to access that data quickly and bring it right back to the beginning of the process. And that's the beauty of our architecture that makes it very, very simple. Underlying our offering are a host of different data services. Now, we have others on the line today that are going to dig into these more deeply, and I'll allow them time to do that. But one important message to you as our customers and partners is all of these data services always come included in the software subscription at no additional charge. Once again, we believe in choice, freedom, and flexibility at Qumulo. We believe in radical simplicity, and by including all the data services in one single software subscription, that just makes it easy for customers. Of course, you have the option, as I mentioned earlier, of being able to run the software in your private cloud, and we do that extremely well with HPE. We'll talk about that in a minute. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also run that same software in public clouds. So no matter where you are on your private to public cloud journey, by working with Qumulo, you future-proof that choice. I'm sure you're wondering, well, what's really different about this product? What are the key differentiators? And I'm just going to mention these 7. The first thing is we were born to scale. Whether you start with a few hundred terabytes or even environments that are smaller than that, it is incredibly simple to scale to many dozens of petabytes. And you don't need to create separate environments to do that. This is a scalable file service. The second thing I'll mention is the robust API that's offered with our product. That's pretty technical, but the takeaway for you as customers is that you're able to automate your storage environment. Some people start to have called us the MuleSoft of storage. That means that you can interoperate and automate everything around Qumulo. The third thing I'll mention is security. It's just so important. One of the things that we brought to market is software-based encryption, and it comes always on. In fact, you don't even have the option to turn it off. Security is just so important. And through innovation and software development, we've obviated or eliminated the need for products like self-encrypting drives that are expensive and limit options. I already told you number 4, on-prem or public cloud, that's your choice. The fifth thing is what we call data awareness. Now, this really comes out in the demo, but this is the idea of not just storing data, but being able to see it. And irrespective of the data set, it could be 100 terabytes or it could be 20 petabytes, you're able to access all the data analytics that are built right into the product in real time. The sixth thing you see on the list is efficiency. And efficiency really just translates to cost. If you inefficiently use data storage, you just make it more expensive. We've got customers that run at 99% full. They do it all the time. There's zero degradation in performance as you do that. And it's not just being able to run at high efficiency, it's efficiency across all file types, whether they're large or small. And the seventh thing, the big differentiator that was represented in data is Qumulo customer delight. Our joint customers with HPE have that same exact greater than 90% NPS score. Technology is no good unless you can use it, unless you love it. As you think about Qumulo and pulling way out, this is the takeaway. We are on a mission to create the world's best file data platform for your applications, for your data, and for your users. We believe in radical simplicity. If IT is too difficult to use, you just can't have it. And we believe in public and private clouds. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and let some of the real folks demo in a bit. But before I do that, I want to introduce my friend and a great partner, Joseph Yang. Joseph is the general manager of HPE storage in the Asia Pacific region. Joseph and Qumulo have worked together on dozens of customer opportunities, all with great success. HPE and Qumulo have now been partners for 4+ years, and I was very involved from the very beginning building that partnership, and it's just so cool to see it blossom. Joseph, are you out there?
Yep, sure am, Bill.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having
the
me.
Partnership.
Yes, definitely.
Well, hey, Joseph, one thing I'm sure our audience is interested in knowing is, why the partnership? And I had the luck of being able to work with HPE starting 4 years ago. And I would say that maybe this was a simple partnership. We were the world's greatest file data platform, and HPE is an incredible brand with awesome products, but there was a segment that you just couldn't fill. What did that look like from your perspective?
Yeah, definitely, the same discussion. I joined HPE a little bit over 2 years ago, and actually I still have notes from the first meetings that I had with my team. One of the gaps that we were looking to fill was the file market. If you look at the overall storage marketplace, especially in APAC, you'll notice that the traditional block storage is actually kind of shrinking. However, file and object is where we're seeing the fastest growth. So we needed to have a solution to address that market, and Qumulo, really fit the bill in terms of helping us achieve growth in that market. So you'll see today, actually, from a market share perspective, our fastest growing segment is actually in the file and object space, and we're growing faster than the market and taking share.
Well, that's awesome. And one thing that I really appreciate about HPE is there's just awesome products. I mean, Nimble has become incredibly well known in the industry. Primera is a great product. Simplicity, even on the networking side, Aruba is just so well known. But the thing that I think is cool is when there's not a product, you either build it yourself or you shop the world. And then I got to experience this on the other side. Even though we filled the hole, HPE wouldn't put their brand next to Qumulo's until they had done almost 18 months of intensive testing and qualification. What does that look like for you as a brand owner like HPE to be able to represent another company's product and feel good and confident about it?
Right. I think, as far as we're concerned here, the Qumulo product is, for all intents and purposes, an HPE product, right? We don't want to differentiate in any way that it's separate. We sell it with the confidence that it is HPE. And, definitely the Qumulo team has been right there, fully supporting us, working very, very closely. I love the fact that you guys use Slack and we can go up to all levels through the Slack channels to get the support that we need. And I think the results kind of show the effectiveness of the working relationship. I just like that, love that map that you had there, and all of the Qumulo logos that we have across the region. That was built up in a very short amount of time, right? It was all, the first deal that we did together in APAC was a little over a year ago. It's amazing how fast the business has grown together.
The progress has just been overwhelming and very positive. Joseph, talk a little bit about the customer experience, and I'll just really focus in on support. If I were a customer, one question on my mind would be like, hey, how do I make sure I get a great experience? I'm buying Qumulo through HPE. You and I know how much time we spend on that, but maybe just share a little bit with the audience about how we make sure that the customer success and delight is off the charts high.
Right. Definitely. I think number one, I love the fact that support and customer success is, a key part of the Qumulo culture, right? And it's really part of Qumulo's DNA. Within the storage business unit at HPE, we've also kind of inherited that customer first DNA from Nimble, right? And so both of these organizations go after serving the customer in similar ways, right? With a cloud connected manageability and monitoring tool. With Nimble, we've got InfoSight. Qumulo has your platform, and then leveraging that to provide the best support experience possible for the customer. If we dig into the Qumulo side, what you were saying, that it took us 18 months to qualify the hardware platform. So it's not just running Qumulo on generic servers. There's actually an end-to-end support that goes around that. Aside from just the qualification, ensuring that from a break fix perspective, that any spare parts that we ship to a customer is certified and qualified for the Qumulo solution, right? So we actually have that full end-to-end support that we offer to our joint customers, which is great.
Well, I think HPE's done an outstanding job building that logistics network. And look, it's the small things that can matter a lot if you're a customer and you're in charge of running an environment. Hey, Joseph, let me just shift the conversation to something that I just think is so cool, and that's GreenLake. And this is a cloud world. It's a consumption world. Customers want ultimate flexibility on how they pay for the services that they consume. Share a little bit about GreenLake, and maybe I'll just ask: is Qumulo available through your GreenLake offering today?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Qumulo is available on GreenLake. I think the software-defined model where it's scale out and you can add node by node is a perfect architecture for GreenLake and to consume as a service. And from an APAC point of view, we're focusing on leading with the GreenLake offer for our software-defined offering. So definitely very much aligned. A good example of this is a healthcare agency in Australia, which was already a GreenLake customer, and they needed NFS storage, right? So providing Qumulo solution to them was as simple as just a change order. And we were able to ship and deliver that solution to the customer in a very short amount of time. So the value that GreenLake brings to a customer is actually quite huge.
Yeah, I think it's just incredible. It's this, and for those of you not familiar with GreenLake, as I've come to learn about it, this just gives you the ability to turn infrastructure and CapEx into consumption and OpEx with maximum flexibility. It's really cool. Well, hey, Joseph, fellows like us, people want to hear about some, but they also want to dig in and learn more about the product. So why don't I thank you for joining us today. We're going to, by the way, for everybody, Joseph will be on through the end. We'll take your Q&A. Yeah. But for now, I'm going to turn it back over to Brandon Sitt, who's going to introduce the next speaker. And we're just going to go deeper and deeper into the product. So with that, I'll turn over to you, Brandon.
Thank you. Thanks for the wonderful stories. You two had some real good banter there on the stage. You definitely make a great team, and our two companies, HPE and Qumulo, obviously make a great partnership as well. Now let's understand a little more about the benefits of a Qumulo solution. And I'd like to introduce Ben Gittenstein, our VP of Product at Qumulo. Ben will go over a technology deep dive and some key innovation areas too. So thanks so much for joining us today, Ben, and I'll hand the mic over to you now.
Great, thanks, Brendan. Good to see you again. Great to see you, Joseph, and the rest of the folks on the call. I'm super excited to be here. As Bill mentioned, we've been serving customers in this region for a while, but this is a really monumental day in Qumulo's history and in our partnership with HPE. And I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it and to be here with all of you today. So thank you for spending some time with us. As Brendan mentioned, my name is Ben Gittenstein. I run the product organization here at Qumulo. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the product we've built, why we've built it, and how we think it can help customers like you achieve your organization's missions. Let's start with some very first principles. What does the Qumulo product do and how do Qumulo customers use it? Simply put, we help customers create petabyte scale file lakes on-prem and in the cloud, and we help them do that with very little complexity. We help them do that simply. That's our product mission, and it's what we've done with customers and how we've helped them succeed. But let's talk a little bit more in detail about what that really means. So I want to bring back this is an image that Bill walked us through earlier, describing the life cycle of your data and of the data that our organizations store and manage with Qumulo. As Bill mentioned, data is ingested and then transformed into something more valuable, and then published to other users, and then of course archived for long-term retention. And then of course, it all is a circle. All of those workflows begin again. One of the powers of Qumulo, one of the central insights that led to the development of our product, was the importance of using one storage infrastructure for all of your unstructured data across that entire lifecycle. That really the days of building individual infrastructures for your ingest pipeline, or a different storage infrastructure for your transformation or high performance computing workflows, or a different tier of storage for your archive systems, those days are gone, because the complexity that puts upon you as business and infrastructure owners is just too high. It's an unacceptable cost for your business. And we wanted to radically simplify that operating model for all of you. So what you see here at the bottom circled is really the heart of what our product does to make that simple for all of you. We call these our data services: Qumulo Scale, Qumulo Perform, Qumulo Aware, Shift, Integrate, Protect, and Secure. These are the central data services or capabilities of our product that help you build great products yourselves. They're what make it possible to use one storage infrastructure for that entire data lifecycle. Now, I love our product and I could spend many hours talking about it, and I would love to come in person to meet many of you in person and give you and bore you with long conversations about individual elements of our product. But in the interest of time, I thought it might be useful to double click on just a few of these data services. So let's start with Scale. In order to provide a single storage infrastructure across your entire data lifecycle, well, for unstructured data, whether it's making movies or building great automobiles or solving healthcare problems, you're talking about a lot of data. And that data lake, that file data lake, needs to be able to grow almost infinitely with simplicity. And that's a central part of Qumulo's technology. We call this Scale, Qumulo Scale. And what it really means is that you as an owner simply have to add a new quote unquote node, which really just means a certified HPE server running Qumulo Core into your data center in a rack near your existing other Qumulo nodes, and the cluster will find that new node, it will add it to the namespace, it will rebalance your data, and it will take advantage of the capacity and performance in that node. That's part of what we do. It's a central part of our technology. One of the recent innovations we unlocked in Scale is what we call dynamic scale, which enables you as a customer to not only add new nodes, but to add new nodes with new components and different drive types in them. The central value of that for you is that it makes it possible to take advantage of the rich innovation constantly coming from HPE. HPE is relentlessly driving new innovation in form factors, in media types, in new components and densities. And we want you to be able to take advantage of that, even for a cluster that's already been built. So that's Qumulo Scale. The next data service I thought I'd spend a moment on is what we call Secure. So as Bill mentioned, we take a very strong position at Qumulo that the data we serve is absolutely mission critical to the organizations that we partner with. And that data must be protected. In fact, there's another data service called Qumulo Protect, which I don't get a chance to talk to you about today, but I would love to in another session. But it also must be secure. And in this case, what we mean by secure is it must be encrypted by default. So all of the data you store in any Qumulo system is encrypted. We use the best in class encryption algorithms. In this case, this is an AES 256 NI encryption system that is really the best cryptography that's available in the market today. We offer it free of charge, so there's no extra charge in order to encrypt your data, and there's no performance penalty. So an encrypted system runs just as fast as an unencrypted system, although and then this is the last point, there is really no way to buy an unencrypted system with Qumulo because we are so passionate about keeping your data safe. Of course, we offer other non-encryption forms of data security like role-based access control so that you can use fine-grained controls to make sure that only the right people have access to make changes to your system. And we don't just encrypt your data at rest, we also encrypt it in transit, in particular between Qumulo clusters. So using our replication traffic is encrypted using TLS, and between your Windows clients and your Qumulo machines using SMB encryption in flight. So that's Qumulo Secure. The last data service I wanted to take a moment to talk about is what we call Shift. So one of the central beliefs we have as a product organization at Qumulo is that your data is your data, and you should be able to use it and bring it to wherever your business requires. Well, one of the most important places that data can reside is in cloud object stores, such as Amazon's AWS S3 service. We decided to make Qumulo data easy to move into AWS S3 so that you as a customer can take advantage of AWS's global reach, but you can and low economics. So if you would like to tier your data down to AWS Glacier, for example, you're more than welcome to. So that you can collaborate with organizations globally. So you can put data in AWS and then publish it out if you would like using AWS's publishing and management features. And then of course, you can use AWS innovation services, such as their machine learning and auto detection services like text extract or recognition, in order to transform your data into something more valuable. As an example, we did a demo at our company kickoff a few weeks ago, where we took license plates captured on a bridge here in Seattle, and we captured images of all of those license plates, stored them on a Qumulo, shifted them into AWS S3, and then we used AWS's text extract service in order to recognize to identify the license plate numbers in all of that, and then send the corresponding image file back to a Qumulo system. And it's really all about your data being available where your business needs it and being able to transform it into something more valuable. That's the last of the data services that I thought I would take a moment to walk through, but really those are slides and just pictures. And so I think in order to prove that we're sort of not making this up, but also really to see the product in action, I thought I would bring over my good friend, Mike Kirkpatrick, who is one of the leaders of our global SE force here at Qumulo, and who's been someone who's taught me a ton about our business and our customers. So Mike, do you want to show people that I'm not making this up and that it's really as great as it sounds?
Yeah, why don't we go over to Mike now, who's going to, thanks for that, Ben, for taking us through that, very passionate. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of customers would love to see you when you can travel over to this region. And you're right, seeing is believing. So let's see some of these amazing things in action now with Mike Kirkpatrick, who's our Director of Systems Engineering. He'll take us through a live demo so you can all see with your own eyes just how easy it is to manage storage with Qumulo and HPE. So Mike, over to you.
Thanks, Brendan. As Brendan said, my name is Mike Kirkpatrick. I'm based out of the Seattle headquarters for Qumulo. And I'm going to dig a little deeper on some things that were mentioned by both Bill and Ben. What you're looking at here is the home screen of a cluster that we actually use at Qumulo for dev and QA. The first thing I'd like to highlight is really drive home something I think Bill mentioned earlier. What we can see in this little donut on our home screen is that this is a cluster of about 144 terabytes. And I'm using 138 of those terabytes. or almost 96%. And that's completely fine. With a typical storage system, you might be really worried. It could get slow. The system may not even support upgrades at this point. With Qumulo, if you paid for the terabytes, you should be able to use them, and we allow you to do that. This happens to be a 10-node cluster we're looking at. And what I want to highlight right here are a couple things. Scale doesn't just mean capacity. It means it's got to perform when it gets big. It's got to be able to store lots of files and still be able to be responsive. And so what we're showing here is we've got about 238 million files in this cluster, about 19 million directories. But what I love and is so different about Qumulo is this is getting updated in real time. This little up caret is telling me that I'm adding files, and every few seconds you'll see that number change. There's no running a report and getting an answer in an hour or maybe a day later. You should be able to find out exactly what's happening on your cluster, and you should be able to find out right now. So let's look at how that actually can make your life easier. So let me scroll down a little bit here, and I'll highlight these top 3 graphs. We're looking at cluster activity in IOPS, throughput, and latency. And across the bottom here, you see time. Again, notice these columns over here will update in real time. There maybe is an event, you come in the morning and you see something, most of it looks pretty normal, but maybe you see a spike on one of these charts and you want to dig in a little. You can actually take this slider and move it to a specific time, and you can zoom in or zoom out. This is all about the power and simplicity of being able to build something that scales large, but still is easy to manage and does exactly what you want from a performance perspective. The beauty of this is with the HPE platforms, whether you're looking at a nearline archive, a hybrid model, which is really a kind of a great combination of price and performance, or all NVMe, you can see exactly what's going on all of those platforms at the same time. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on these read and write distributions, but again, it's another view of trying to figure out what's going on in your cluster. How busy is the cluster at any given time? What's normal? What does something, maybe a spike in performance look like? What I do want to focus on a little bit is this client activity. So as I mentioned, we have a 10-node cluster here. What this bar graphs are showing me is how many clients are connected to each node. Where I really want to focus, though, is in this particular case, I've got 203 current connections. Of those, 199 are NFS, and we've got 4 SMB connections. What's important here is our really robust multi-protocol support. Whether you're using Linux or Windows or Mac, or a combination of all of those, we handle all of those security, permissions, and file locking so that you only need one set of storage to host all of your file data. Over on the right here, we're looking at the most active clients based on IOPS or throughput. We get a host name, we get an IP address. I'm going to dig a little deeper on active clients in a minute, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it on the home screen here. What I do want to take a little look at here is this capacity trends. So this is a nice summary over the last 72 hours of exactly how much data has been added or deleted from the cluster. What I can see here is basically the cluster hasn't grown or shrunk by too much, but I'm always going to know whether it was snapshots, data, or metadata that's changing over time. In this case, over the last 72 hours, I've had a net deletion of about 142 terabytes. But let's dive a little deeper. So what I can see at the top here is that same view again, but I can change the date range. Let's look back maybe over 52 weeks. Notice at the bottom here, I've got a month, every month is one of these lines. If I hover any place over this chart, it tells me exactly how much data and how it was broken out at that time. This is a great way to see your capacity capacity utilization over time, helps you planning for when you might need to add more storage. Going back to that Green Lake example at the beginning, you can easily tell when you're about to exceed the amount of usable storage. And with a Green Lake model, it's very simple to just add into what you've already got. But now let's solve a hypothetical problem here. When I was a storage admin, sometimes I'd come in and on a Monday morning after the weekend, I'd notice that 50 terabytes was gone and nobody knew where it went or why. This bottom graph will help you figure that out instantly. So anything above this 0 byte line is showing that the cluster is growing, the capacity is growing. Anything below is showing that there was deletion of data. And across the bottom, I've got time. So maybe I come in and boy, this is a lot of data got deleted this day. I better find out what's going on. So on this day, it says about a little over a terabyte of data was deleted. Okay, well, that's good information. What about great information? If I click on that, I now see exactly which directories had that change. So I can see this build directory lost about, let's call it 700 or 800 gigabytes of data. The submit directory lost about 600 gigabytes of data. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that was part of a normal part of my workload. But maybe it means that something's missing, something that should be there. And I can immediately go into, say, a snapshot, for example, and start moving that data back without having to wait for a report or a user to point me in the right direction, run a bunch of find commands, do some compares. All of that data is right here instantly for you to take advantage of. We have a wide range of analytics, but the other one I want to highlight here is this Capacity Explorer. Another thing I'd run into a lot when I was a system administrator, somebody would want to know how much data is in that directory. How many files are in that folder? And you can right-click properties on a Windows machine or run a find command on a Linux machine. But if you've got hundreds of millions of files or even billions, which some of our customers have, that could take hours or even days to get an answer. With Qumulo, what we're looking at here is the root or the top level directory. These are all directories, the first level directories underneath that. If I hover over any one of these directories, it instantly tells me how much capacity is in this directory, almost 41 terabytes. There are almost 73 million files in this directory, and I know that instantly. I can click down inside of this directory and keep getting instantaneous answers. I just click down about 5 levels deep into this directory structure, and I have answers without waiting a second. Right, and here I've got about 5 terabytes of data, and I've got a little over 3 million files. There's no reason you should have to wait around or wait for reports to run to find this information. So again, this goes back to scale. It's not just how big you can build it, how easy is it to manage when you've built it that big. The last piece of analytics I'll highlight, I'm not going to click on the hot spots here of throughput and IOPS. We'll save that for another time. Let's look at client activity. How many of you have ever run into the situation where a user calls and says it's slow? What does that even mean? How do you find out what's really going on? Let's start over here at the right with our key. We've got throughput, we've got IOPS, we've got metadata, we've got reads and writes, and we've got little bar charts or little graphs indicators underneath each of these. As I mentioned, this is all getting updated in real time. So as we're sitting here, you will notice changes happen. Let me turn that off and make sure we're not getting changes so I can focus on something. This particular client, you know what, let's even dig into just throughput. Let's turn off the metadata and the IOPS. I can see that this client, here's its IP address, and here's its name, is doing about 13 megabytes a second of activity. Some of that in this purplish color is reads and some of it is writes. I can look down to the file or directory level and see what exactly that client was doing. So I know exactly how busy that client is. So when someone calls and says it's slow, I instantly have actionable data based on the Qumulo analytics. And this is incredibly powerful because, again, it's important to understand not only what you're putting in the system, how it's behaving, and how your users are feeling about using that storage system. Ben mentioned a few of the other components. I'm not going to dive into these. Again, a great time to set up an additional demo. But I did want to highlight the simplicity of management here. Under the cluster tab, I can configure replication, snapshots. Ben mentioned the copy to S3 shift feature there. We've got security beyond even just the encryption, join Active Directory, LDAP. Get audit logs, find out who's doing the reading, the writing, and the deleting. And all of that is very simple. It can be configured from this one interface. So hopefully that gave you a little taste of what's possible with Qumulo. Would love to do a deeper dive demo at some point for you. But for now, let me hand it back to Brendan.
Thank you, Mike, for taking us through just the simplicity of Qumulo, I think. And I guess everyone should be able to really see now why we say Qumulo is out here trying to cure data blindness, because we're helping you all see the data a little more clearly now, and it's available instantly, right? Now, let's hear all about how our customers have actually leveraged this simplicity of Qumulo in their organizations right here in the region. I'd like to introduce my dear friend from HPE in South Korea, Jay Park. Jay's going to take us through some of the key customers that he has helped in South Korea. So over to you, Jay.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you.
Okay, good.
Good to see you. Yep.
Thank you for the great introduction. And let me introduce myself again. My name is Jay Park, and I work for HPE as a storage category manager. And I'm currently leading software-defined storage and hyperconverged business in Korea. And today, I've got some great HPE Qumulo real use cases that I would like to introduce on behalf of Korean customers. Before I dive into real use cases, I would like to talk about why I started HPE Qumulo business. Let's think about data increases in everyday life. My smartphone that I used in 2016 has only 32 gigabytes, but now I'm using 256 gigabyte storage space in the smartphone, which is 8 times bigger storage capacity, and my storage increase is 50% CAGR. So do you know how fast enterprise data increased? To be honest, I had no clue, but I think that enterprise business is not so different. Since data is very important to enterprise customers, and we as an employee create data every day. Therefore, I'm pretty sure that demand of the storage is increasing fast. And these data are mostly unstructured data like images, videos, SNS data, and data from machine and sensor. Then where do you think we need to store these data? I can say that scale-out file storage will be the perfect solution for them. So in 2019, I was looking for scale-out file storage that I can sell in HPE. And I think I was very lucky because HPE Qumulo storage was the only scale-out file storage that I found in HPE portfolio. And this is the reason why I started to drive HPE Qumulo. And my mission in 2020 was to build Qumulo ecosystem and develop Qumulo business in Korea. In March of 2020, we made first HPE Qumulo storage reference in Korea. And after seeing first customer satisfied with the product, I felt all the excitement. And since then, we have made 17 customers for 20 projects during the last 1 year. It happened just 1 year. 17 customers uses total 134 nodes of the Qumulo storage, and this is about 19.1 petabyte of physical storage. And this is fantastic result that I couldn't expect in the beginning. But even greater thing is that not only the result, but I wanted to highlight how reliable HPE Qumulo storage is. Of course, there are a couple of minor disk failures, but 17 customers haven't faced any major issue. So I can say that we proved 100% availability, and this is tremendous driving force to build sustainable business model. And I have heard so many positive feedback from the customers. And now I'm very pleased that many partners, as well as HPE sales in Korea, believe HPE Qumulo storage is a revolutionary product that all the customers really love. So today, among those 17 customers, I would like to introduce 3 key customer success stories. And first is media and entertainment customers. And Qumulo brand was already very, very popular in this segment because many of major M&E customers in the world adopted HPE Qumulo storage. So please do not hesitate to check Qumulo if you are involved in this segment. And this customer in the slide provides full service of localization for Netflix and other video contents that we watch every day. Before customer adopts Qumulo storage, the customer used legacy NAS archive. To be honest, legacy NAS archive is not so smart enough to manage data and also is not so fast enough to support users. So from the customer perspective, they had 2 major pain points. And first, users and editors had to download the contents to add caption and then upload these contents again to the legacy NAS archive. It was very, very painful for them because it normally took around 30 to 40 minutes just for process of downloading and uploading. Also, from the IT operations perspective, they always worried about data leakage because those contents were considered highly confidential. So the company would have to pay lots of penalty if the contents were leaked. But now with the Qumulo storage, as you can see the diagram on the left-hand side, architecture still remains the same, but their workflow changed dramatically. And basically, they solved 2 pain points. Users can work on adding caption without downloading and uploading the contents, and thus users can complete jobs on a short-term timeline. At the same time, IT operation can prevent data leakage because users are not going to download the contents anymore. And this is why this customer loves HPE Qumulo storage. And second reference is healthcare. Nowadays, many of the healthcare data changed from the analog to digital. Healthcare equipment become smarter, and these systems produce large amount of file data. So demand of storage capacity in healthcare is increasing really, really fast. And PACS and digital pathology solution are the best examples. This customer is the biggest cancer research institute in Korea by developing new paradigm in cancer research, rendering the best quality care to the cancer patients, and functioning as an educational and training hub for the next generation cancer specialists. But unfortunately, despite of their reputation as a cancer research center, their as-is as its storage environment was terrible. They used the SAN storage, and SAN storage architecture was too complex. And so IT operations spent tons of time managing file data. Once SAN storage is full, the customer had no choice but to create new cluster. And then another SAN storage is already full, then they have to add another new cluster and new cluster continuously. Because traditional SAN environment in the customer data center couldn't handle increase of file data. Also, the customer needed to manage data accordingly depending on how often doctors access. So they used not the best tiering technology with flash, hybrid, and NLSAS storage respectively. So they decided to innovate their existing SAN environment by changing them to Qumulo storage. As you can see the diagram on the left-hand side. Now, the customer store large numbers of ultra high resolution images in the single Qumulo platform, and the customer doesn't have to worry about tiering anymore. And the last is finance reference. This customer is one of the major banking customer in the southern west part of Korea. Nowadays, no one goes to the bank, right? We all use mobile banking instead of going to the bank. For that reason, many banks need to build paperless process using modern IT technology. However, before adopting Qumulo storage, rapid increase of mobile banking operations put IT system in the jeopardy due to the limited performance and scalability with existing NAS storage. Also, they have to invest too much on DR, but interestingly, they were not really sure if DR is working or not. So the customer was looking for new solutions, and solution was scaled out file storage to handle increased demand of mobile banking. Actually, Korean customers are sometimes very cautious about adopting new technology. So HPE Korea did all the BMT for the customers to show them reliability and how easily we can manage data in Qumulo GUI. Once we showed the performance and ease of management with the Qumulo system, the customer decided to go with Qumulo solution without any hesitation. And recently, the customer also built end-to-one DR operation without spending any extra licenses for data movements. Now, the customer has reliable mobile banking storage that can handle billions of files. For the last 10 minutes, I covered 3 references among 17 customer cases. And I would like to summarize why HPE Qumulo matters from the customer perspective. HPE delivers high density #1 market share, reliable big data server with unmatched security and hardware management. And on top of HPE servers, Qumulo is the last piece to make customer happy because Qumulo provides unmatched scaling with the real-time analytics. And also, Qumulo is true cloud-native solution for public cloud as well as on-premise. I believe HPE and Qumulo is the greatest alliance ever, and with together, we can change whole file storage industry. And many customer success story ends with the quote. So I would like to end my presentation with the comment by myself. So the comment is selling HPE Qumulo storage is enjoyable experiences because I can sell product that many partners and customers love. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that, Jay. Just incredible to see, all that insight that you shared and see how many customers have already benefited from Qumulo and HPE in South Korea, from the media entertainment space with great films like Parasite and Train to Busan, and helping with cancer research. And obviously the last one is important as well, getting access to that money very quickly. So look, that almost brings us to the end of today's Connect event. And we promise prizes, and we always deliver on our promises. So thank you for taking your time out of your day and attending today's session and sticking around here till the end. And we would like to just give away an Oculus Rift VR headset and a few gift cards too. So all you need to do to win these prizes is to complete a short survey, which we'll send out at the end of this event. So please kindly just share your feedback and any responses as well by the 28th of April, and we'll draw the winner very, very soon after that and notify you. But please ensure you get to that survey ASAP. So with that, that's a wrap for today's event. On behalf of everyone here at Qumulo and HPE, thank you all for joining us. We really hope you enjoyed today's program. The team and I will be staying on though for another 15 minutes. In case any of you still have any questions for any of the presenters that have, that you'd like answered, or if not, you can just, leave now and enjoy the rest of your day. And, thank you for attending. But before you go, don't forget to reach out to your local Qumulo team for a live demo or a follow-up session. We would love to hear from you. And if you don't know your local team, you can always send an email to info@qumulo.com and we'll get you connected to the right person. This is Brendan Sitt signing off from Sydney, Australia. Thank you for attending Connect. Stay safe and be well.